Hello, everybody, and welcome to Loren Live. I'm your host, Christopher Gergen, and joining me tonight is Loren Culp, who is the only constitutional conservative candidate in Washington's 4th Congressional District. Loren, how are you tonight?
I am doing fantastic, Chris. Thank you guys for joining me. Dita, Berta, Randy, Jay, Cindy, Jason. Good to see you on here, brother. Thank you all for joining me tonight. And how you doing, Chris?
I'm doing well. I'm doing very well. It's good to be on the show with you tonight.
Excellent. Yes, it is.
So we have a bunch of things going on in the world. I don't think there's any shortage of topics to talk about. It seems like the world is on fire, and Joe Biden sits in the White House with Kamala Harris feeding him grapes as he plays the fiddle and watches the world burn. At least that's what it sounds like, even though the visual on that is absolutely terrifying. But Joe Biden is projecting weakness all over the world.
Yeah.
He's projecting weakness not only domestically with these insane domestic problems that we have, energy prices, food prices, supply chain issues, rent prices, on and on and on we could go.
And he's projecting weakness because he is weak. He's
Absolutely
been in politics his entire life. He is a proven liar. He continually lies. I don't even think that he knows what's going on. I watched a video a little bit ago. It's running around on social media with Kamala and her talking. She, traveling to these foreign nations, representing America, and she can't even speak. For crying out, it's pathetic. America, right now, our leadership is worthless.
It really is.
There's no two ways about it.
It really is. I mean, we are a nation in crisis.
Yep.
Not only are the conservatives, many of them, not all of them, there are many very good conservatives in Congress, mostly involved with the Freedom Caucus. But outside of that, we have a lot of neocons, a lot of rhinos, a lot of leftist wingnuts, green world wingnuts, utopian-minded wingnuts. These different people, communists, blatant communists. I think it was Blumenthal, Senator Blumenthal, just recently, I want to say it was a couple months ago, spoke at the Communist Party headquarters in Connecticut, and then when he got called out on it, he was like, "Oh, that's where I was. I had no idea where I was."
Right? They lie all the time. They lie all the time, and I'll tell you what: if when Republicans take back the House and the Senate, which I think they're going to do, we are going to do this year. We can't have weak people in there. We need to get rid of the neocons and the rhinos because we have to push back hard. It's like it's been for a long time two arms of the same party. The Democrats get in and they push socialism hard. And then Republicans get in and they kind of play softball. They want to be nice. They want to reach across the aisle. They want to get along. Our country's at stake. We can't play games like they've played in the past. It didn't matter whether it was Republicans in charge or Democrats in charge. And it's been that way for a long time, except when President Trump was in there and he had to fight with them. But we're going down this path towards Marxism, communism, socialism, whatever ism you want to call it. It's just a different speed depending on which party's in charge. But when we take back the House and the Senate this time, we have to push back. We have to shove all the way back to 1776 and get our federal government back within the confines of the Constitution, or we're going to lose our country. It's just a matter of time.
And I think that what's required to make that happen is to elect people like yourself to Congress who are constitutionally grounded and constitutionally minded, to where we're electing candidates who have a hardened commitment and fundamental understanding of the Constitution. It doesn't mean that they need to be constitutional scholars, but the Constitution wasn't written in such a way that it requires a scholar to understand it.
It's easy to understand if you just go back to the fundamentals and just only have the federal government doing what the Constitution mandates that the federal government is supposed to do, and leave the rest of the states and the people as per the 10th Amendment, then we would be so much better off. If the federal government would just get out of our lives, reduce taxes, reduce regulations, have a strong military, and protect our country, and deal with America and Americans first, have that as in the forefront of its job, instead of nations all around the world worrying about what's going on in nations all around the world, sending them billions of dollars. Even our enemies, look what they did under Obama, sent pallet loads of cash to Iran. For what? We're always meddling in foreign affairs. We're always getting involved in military conflicts. We need to pay attention to America first and take care of Americans. That's the role of the federal government, is to protect citizens' rights, not be running around the world playing referee between countries.
So this doctrine of kind of being the world police really began after the Second World War, and I don't want to take everyone on a history lesson tonight, but you can go look it up, Google it. It is out there. It's one of the things that they haven't banned yet. But after the Second World War, there was a decided shift in policy and how we fought wars and how we looked at conflict, that started with Korea, the Korean conflict, between North Korea and South Korea, and it became a proxy war between the United States and China. And then
under the United Nations, which
since
the United Nations has been formed, there's been more wars since.
Yes.
We need to get out of the United Nations. We don't need to be dealing with a bunch of despots from all over the world telling us what to do and how to do it, and taking our nation to war. You mentioned World War II. We haven't had a constitutional war since World War II. That is Congress's responsibility, whether we go to war or whether we don't. Congress should have never ceded that power to the president. That power belongs in Congress. Our founders put it there so that there were many people. The people's representatives decided whether we're sending our young men and women overseas to fight. Having that power in one person's hand, that's what totalitarian dictatorships do. That's what kings do. So it's not what our founders set up for our country. And we would have a lot more peace and stability in our country and around the world if we protected our country and didn't engage in all these police actions all around the world, which everything since World War II has been.
It really has been. So Korea, Vietnam, again, another proxy war against the communists. And then we were involved in different issues in the 70s in different places. And then in the 80s, we had limited military involvement. But again, those were proxy wars with the communists, with either the Soviets at that time or the Chinese. And then we had the Gulf War, Gulf One. And then that was about oil and resources. And then we had Gulf II, which was a continuation of Gulf One. And we've been embroiled and entangled in this Afghanistan war. And then we just up and leave. We collapse the government that we had installed there, which I'm certainly not an advocate for. But anyway, it is what it is, right? And when we left, what we had there collapsed. And then now we need a new war because we're addicted to it. And so we have this conflict. And
there is a general, and I've mentioned this, it's been months or years. I've mentioned this before, but there's a Marine Corps general. His name's Smedley Butler, and he wrote a book called War is a Racket. It's a very good book. Anybody listening should get a copy of it and read it. It's a very small book, quick to read. But he was one of the most decorated United States Marine generals ever. I think he had 2 Congressional Medals of Honor. And he wrote in that book that about war being a racket. The military-industrial complex get rich. The companies that support the military, make the bombs, make the bullets, make the guns, they get rich off of war. They want war. Large corporations come in after the fighting's over, and they get rich. We build infrastructure everywhere. We take resources from those nations, and everybody gets rich. The politicians get big slush funds, and from the big corporations, and our veterans, our sons and daughters, our brothers, our dads, they're sent home missing limbs with mental problems sometimes, and many of them come home in flag draped coffins. I mean, we just spent the last 20 years at war. For what? So Joe Biden could leave billions of dollars worth of military equipment into the hands of Afghanistan, our enemies, right? The Taliban, or civilians, or whoever wanted to go pick it up. We need to stop this madness. Thomas Jefferson. I love this quote from Thomas Jefferson. He said that we should be friends with all nations, but have entangled alliances with none. You know, right now we're on the hook with NATO. You know, NATO started out with, I forget how many countries it was right after World War II, but a handful. And now there's almost 30 countries in NATO. And if any one of those nations, I think we talked about this last week, but it's very important that everybody understands this. If any member of NATO gets into a conflict, we are obligated to send our young men and women, our riches, our equipment, our ammo, our guns, our bombs. We are obligated to join in that fight with them, to join that war. So we have almost 30 countries. Any one of them can get us into a war. That's not what our founders set up. Congress is the only body in our government or in the world that has the constitutional power to decide whether our nation is going to go to war or not. Not some small country somewhere around the world, not the United Nations, not NATO, not anybody, but Congress. And we need to get back to that.
So, you know, if you've watched any news in the last 3 weeks, you know, right after the Russians invaded Ukraine, almost everyone, very few people excluded, people on the right, people on the left, George Soros, the Obamas, the Clintons, the Bushes, McConnell,
all the usual suspects.
all the usual suspects, people on all spectrum, you know, looked at this and threw up their arms and clutched their hearts and cried about how terrible this is. And I do not want to minimize or in any way try to diminish the suffering of what is going on in Ukraine. It truly is a humanitarian crisis.
War is
there.
Horrible.
The war is
human tragedy, the suffering
is terrible.
Yeah,
but
it is absolutely horrible.
But it was the usual suspects that came out in support of war. And the fact that they were all aligned in this same direction gave me flashbacks to when I joined the Navy because of 9/11, and everybody roundly was all outraged on both sides. Everyone agreed we had to go to war because of weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist, or at least were never found. So we now know that that was just a lie. It was a narrative that they created to gain, you know, traction in support of a war. And
but
so
we still
now
have the Patriot Act, Chris.
And yeah, the Patriot Act is.
I guess that's what we got.
So Patriot Act affects everything: banking, travel. I mean, communications between people. It established spying on U.S.
American citizens.
Yeah, exactly. So we're in a situation now with Ukraine. Everybody, you know, roundly supports the Ukrainians. They talk about all the atrocities, and yes, there are atrocities, because again, it is war. And now you see all these Republicans, and this is I'm getting to my question, Loren. You see all these Republicans that go on TV, Ben Sass and Lindsey Graham, and you know, all these different ones. They're going on television supporting the war and cheerleading for a war. I'm just curious, if you were in Congress today and Newhouse was already retired to the outhouse, and you were the sitting congressman, how would you see this situation, and how would you vote on this in Congress if you were sitting there?
Well, my attitude, just like I was talking about, is America first, right? This war in Ukraine, if you notice the flip of the book, basically on the news media and the politicians, nobody's talking about what's going on domestically anymore. Nobody's talking about what the Biden administration has done to our country in a year, right? Everything's focused on we need to get engaged in this war. As bad as things are over there for the people of Ukraine, I support them, but I do not support Americans going over there to shed blood, because I don't think that the United States government, our military, should be used to police the world. And they want to send weapons, they want to send ammunition. We need to send jets, but it's just the proverbial camel's nose under the tent, right? The same playbook that they've used forever. It starts out, we send weapons and ammunition, and then they use that up. We need to send more, and then more, and then, well, we need more sophisticated weapons, and then we need advisors to go help, and then we need troops to protect the advisors. Then some of them get killed, right? And so then we send more troops to protect those troops that are protecting the advisors. And then pretty quick, we're into full-scale war. It's the same playbook that's been run since Vietnam. And I don't support doing that. The United States needs to take care of America first. We've got, over 2 million foreign nationals crossed our border last year. Over 2 million. And those are the ones we know about. That's a lot. Yeah, we need to take care of what's going on here. We need to fix what's going wrong here at home before we worry about going and fixing somebody else's border.
High taxes, gas prices, rent prices, supply chain issues.
Inflation's out of control because they're spending money like drunken sailors. And again, no offense to drunken sailors, but we can't keep getting involved in these conflicts like this. We need to take care of America first. We need to secure our border. We need to get our economy under control, and we need to get our federal government under control. So we need to fix things at home before we worry about our neighbor. That's my attitude.
Well, I agree with you, Loren, and if we're not putting America first in this, and specifically American citizens first,
and
our own well-being.
Think about it. Do we really want Joe Biden in charge of our military in a war? He couldn't even get our military out of Afghanistan in an orderly fashion. We want him in charge of an actual war that would escalate.
Kamala Harris is a senior advisor.
Yeah, imagine that.
So she can cackle at all the meetings.
Yeah, but I mean,
and what's even worse is General Milley.
Right. Can you imagine?
I mean, he presided over the Afghan withdrawal.
Yeah, and those are the people that would be in charge of any involvement, and they would escalate it. It always escalates. There's always a reason we need to go fight the boogeyman somewhere, and then it escalates, and pretty quick we're 20 years into a war over something that wasn't even true to begin with. We have got to get back to America First policies. We need strong leadership and a constitutional government that's focused on America and Americans here at home. I mean, this can all be fixed, right? President Trump, we were the largest oil producing country in the world. We were selling oil. We had so much.
Drill, baby, drill.
Gas prices were under $2 a gallon. And now where are we? Around $5 a gallon.
$6 in Los Angeles. It was in the news this morning.
Pathetic.
Average price in Los Angeles, California, over $6 a gallon. First city in the nation, first metropolitan area in the nation to average over $6. Couldn't have happened to a nicer governor.
And something else that's kind of ironic, Chris. Think about this, you guys. So we have Democrats and Republicans calling for stricter gun control here at home, right? They just banned large capacity magazines here in Washington State. They've been pushing anti-gun policies all the time. These are the same people, and I made a post about this earlier today. These are the same people that are cheering on the civilians in Ukraine that are using fully automatic machine guns to fight against the Russians. Here at home, they want to restrict our Second Amendment rights. I mean, that is exactly why the founders wrote the Second Amendment, to protect our ability to fight against foreign invasion or tyrants, either one.
Even though I'm not in the state anymore, not like I was at least during the governor's race, I still follow Washington news pretty closely. I get it to my cell phone every day, and I don't know. Has anybody noticed the number of homicides that are in the news now that weren't in the news before? I mean, and it's not just in the Puget Sound. I mean, it's all over the state. Places where it's like, really, they had a homicide there.
And it's every Democrat-run state.
Yes, that's exactly,
because the defund the police, obviously, right?
Yes, absolutely. So I know, obviously, you're a big supporter of law enforcement, but we need to get our public safety issues under control. We need to get our financial issues under control. We need to get all of our domestic policy stuff squared away and actually start prosecuting criminals for doing crimes. I think the best things, ladies and gentlemen, we can do is get rid of these Soros-funded DAs, and Soros-funded congressional members, Soros-funded senators, Soros-funded folks that are involved in government. I don't mean to make Soros this big boogeyman, like he's like he's the puppet master pulling the strings, but he is involved, and
he's putting big time money behind
big money, billions,
policymakers, and
absolutely.
The way that we get control of states like Washington, that we the people get control back, is we go back to in-person voting. We do away with the machines. We do away with the counting
100%.
machines. Everything.
100%.
Paper ballot, and the Congress can do that. It is constitutional. If you read your Constitution, the federal government, the Congress can make election law. So we need to go back to in-person. Show your ID. You're a registered voter. You get one ballot. You fill it out. You turn it in right at the same place, and they're counted at the precinct level. So that's how we get these idiots like Jay Inslee and Bob Ferguson out of office, because we the people, I don't believe, voted them in. I don't care what anybody says. And the same with President Trump. There is no way in God's green earth that I believe Joe Biden got more votes than Obama did.
81 million votes.
Than any president ever. So anyway, enough about that subject.
Yes, sir. Let's talk about the campaign. And
I don't want to go too far down that hole, because
no, I know that's a rabbit hole. We could end up finding Alice at the bottom of that rabbit hole, Alice in Wonderland. But so the campaign is going well. I just want to give people a brief update on that, and then I know we've got some events that you wanted to share with the folks. But the campaign is going well. We're building out an organization. We need volunteers. At the bottom of your screen, you see it scrolling. www.cultforcongress.com. If you want to contribute, we'd love to have your support. If you would like to volunteer, we would love to have your support and have your support in a volunteer capacity. So you can go there. You can
guys need volunteers.
Absolutely.
Need donations. Whatever you can do. Biggest thing of all, get signed up for the email so that we can stay in touch, because you never know. We could be banned. This could be our last show. This one might not even air. Who knows?
Shirts, you can get everything. We haven't got hats in the store yet, but we're working on that. There's kind of a logistical issue on that, but we're going to get the hats in there. But right now, shirts, signs, stickers, all that kind of stuff, you got that all right there in the store. You can do that there as well. The organization is growing. We're doing very well. Loren has been to quite a few events. We don't mind doing the small events, Loren. That's something that a lot of candidates won't do because it's not worth their time to go talk to just a couple people.
I remember in the governor's race, Chris, I traveled all the way from Republic, which everybody knows is in the northeast corner of the state in the mountains, all the way over to the west side. And I forget the name of the town, but it was close to Federal Way. And there was one couple there, husband and wife, that came to the meet and greet. And I don't care. I don't care how many people show up, because it grows. So I traveled all that way to do a meet and greet, and one couple showed up, and I gave him my full spiel. It didn't matter. They were there and they were important. So I'll go to any event. It doesn't matter to me, big or small.
Absolutely. We're building an army. We're going to hit, campaigning as a contact sport. We're not just going to run the air war, the commercials, those different things, but we're going to get on the ground. We're going to do the kind of the hand-to-hand thing. We don't have COVID this cycle, knock on wood. We don't have the COVID restrictions that we had last cycle. So we're going to be able to get some of the groundwork down. But we need folks, and we need to continue to grow this army. We've already got a long list, probably 50 plus more of individuals that have signed up just in the last couple of weeks. And so we want to get you guys on board. Sign up, get our new newsletters. We don't spam you. I don't send out a lot of newsletters to folks, but we want to keep you informed and keep you up to date on what's going on.
And we don't give it out to anybody else. So
no, that's all internal. That's our house file.
Yeah.
So you've got some events coming up, Loren. Why don't you tell the folks about that?
I am, and you guys can see the events page if you go on cultforcongress.com and click on the menu and see the events. I'm going to be in Kennewick Thursday night, 5:30 to 8. Doors open 5:30. Event starts at 6 o'clock. And that is this Thursday at Ice Harbor Brewing Company in Kennewick.
Yes.
So check that out.
We love the Tri-Cities.
And then April 7th, I'm going to be at Smulligan's Pizza and Barbecue in Moses Lake. I kind of know where Moses Lake's at because I live there.
Yeah.
So I'll be at Smulligan's Pizza and Barbecue Thursday, April 7th. That event is also in the evening. And then on the 9th, I will be in Franklin County for the Franklin County GOP Lincoln Day dinner.
Yes.
So you can go to franklinrepublicans.com to find out the details on that one.
Absolutely.
But the main thing, get to the website, cultforcongress.com, and get signed up for the emails. Check out the store. Everything you buy there helps out the campaign. And there is a very interesting T-shirt. I don't know if it's on the hats. Well, we don't have hats on there yet. But on T-shirts and hoodies is a graphic that I thought of, and Chris put it to print. It is 1776% constitutional conservative.
That's a great shirt.
Yeah, yep. I love it.
That's a great shirt.
And it's very popular. So check that out, you guys.
Well, you know who is...
And we're going to be adding more events all the time. So make sure you check the website often.
You know who is not 1776% conservative? Dan Newhouse and the impeachment 10. You know, you and I had a discussion earlier in the week about, because we look at what our opponents are doing, Loren.
And that brought up an interesting subject about federal PACs.
Yep, leadership PACs in particular.
Yeah, can you explain to everybody what that's about?
Yes, leadership PAC is something. So PAC stands for Political Action Committee, right? It's just like an entity, everybody, that you can put money into, and depending on the type of, it's like a container, depending on the type of PAC it is or the type of container it is, determines where that money can go out to. So you have different types of PACs for different types of things that you can fund, right? You've got regular PACs, committee PACs, leadership PACs, super PACs, all these different things. Very confusing, very boring. I don't want to kill you guys at home. It's the evening time. I don't want to fry your brain. But this leadership PAC is very important. A candidate will start a leadership PAC so he can support other candidates' campaigns. So there are limits on how much money you can give to Mr. Culp. So as an individual, you can give $2,900 in the primary and $2,900 in the general for a total of $5,800. And if anybody wants to make that type of contribution, we would be more than happy to receive that. You can just click on the link, go to cultforcongress.com, go to donate. You can do that there. But let's say you wanted to contribute $10,000, or let's just say $7,500. Okay, you could take all the money above $5,800, between $5,800 and $7,500, and you could take that money and you could put it into a leadership PAC that is associated with a candidate like Mr. Culp or like Dan Newhouse, or now Mr. Culp at this point does not have a leadership PAC. We're looking at possibly putting one together. But these leadership PACs are used between conservatives and different candidates to support other people that are on their team. So you can really tell a lot about a guy or a gal, as it were, by who else they support. So, Loren, we found Mr. Newhouse has a leadership PAC called the New Energy in Washington House PAC. I don't know. It sounds a lot like Green Energy, but I don't know that that's true. But the New Energy, or maybe it's
in Washington House.
Yeah, maybe it's New Political Energy. I don't know what it is.
Right.
But there's energy there.
Well, it's very telling on who he supports.
Right? It is.
I mean,
and it's also telling on who he asked money back from. So this PAC, Loren, we found in the 2020, Dan Newhouse gave Donald Trump $5,000. Then in 2021, he asked for the $5,000 back, right? So he gave money into the Make America Great Again PAC. And then he's like, oh, no, wait, I don't like Donald Trump anymore because he's not beneficial and I voted to impeach him. And so now I want that money back. So they asked for a refund from Donald Trump. And then
what did he do, Chris?
He gave $9,000. So if there's the impeachment 10 and he's the 10th, that leaves 9. So he gave $9,000 to 9 candidates. And I'll give you 3 guesses, with the first 2 don't count, on which 9 people he gave money to. He gave money to Jamie Herrera Butler, who voted for impeachment, Liz Cheney, who gave money for impeachment, Anthony Gonzalez, who gave money or who voted for impeachment, John Katko, who voted for impeachment, Adam Kitzinger, dopey crying Adam Kitzinger, who is retiring, by the way, gave him $1,000. Peter Meyer voted for impeachment. He got $1,000. Tom Rice, he got $1,000. He voted for impeachment. Fred Upton, up in Michigan, he gave him $1,000, voted for impeachment. And David Villado in California gave him $1,000, who also voted for impeachment.
So
those are the only candidates he supported.
Yeah, Dan Newhouse. Let me recap this real quick. So Dan Newhouse gave $5,000 to President Trump's PAC.
Yes.
Obviously, because he thought President Trump was going to continue as in a second term.
Correct.
So yeah, it turns out Trump lost. He asked for the $5,000 back, and then he sends $1,000 to each of the other nine who voted to impeach President Trump.
Yes.
Yeah. Birds of a feather, right?
Birds of a feather. And I could run down this rabbit hole, and I'm not going to bore the people tonight. But Liz Cheney and several other candidates have contributed back to, because if you scratch my back, Loren, I'm going to scratch yours. So Liz Cheney has actually given money back to Newhouse directly to his campaign.
Out of her PAC.
That's right. And so
they're all in this together. So
that's exactly right.
That's very obvious.
Yeah. So this is who we're up against, ladies and gentlemen. Very important to get involved. Very important to contribute. Mr. Culp is not taking large money contributions from corporations. Let me ask you a question, and you can answer in the comments. If AT&T's PAC, and I'm just picking on them, it could be anybody, Amazon, Boeing, pick one. If a corporation gave Mr. Culp $10,000 and you gave him $500, and you and that corporation called at the same time.
Yeah, whose call is the politician going to take?
That's right. With Mr. Culp, he doesn't have that issue because he's not taking money from Boeing. He's not taking money from Amazon. He's not taking, nor is he asking for money from these people. If you make a contribution to Mr. Culp, you're going to have access to not access to, but he's going to hear your concerns.
Well,
right? He's going to pick up the call.
Is we the
That's
people.
Exactly right. Yeah,
so,
that's exactly
but that's what
right.
we're up against, you guys. We
Yes.
obviously need donations, whatever you can afford. I mean, I have a lot of people that donate $5 a piece.
Yep.
Some people max out. Whatever you can afford. It takes a lot of money to go up against a machine, and then coming in Congress. You know, we're talking nationwide. They get support from a ton of large corporations, thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I am a We the People candidate. I'm America First, and I look to you guys to support the campaign. Obviously, we have to have money to run ads. So I know you guys won't let me down. You never did. So that's all that needs to be said about that. I appreciate all of you.
Absolutely. Loren, closing thoughts for this evening?
Yeah, you guys just don't give up. Don't give in. Don't back down. We love a good challenge, right? We will take this. We will win. Pray constantly. We obviously need God's help, but our country is not lost. We will bring back America First policies. We will get a constitutional government. We have to, and I won't quit fighting. So thank you guys for fighting with me.
And thank you guys for joining us tonight. We will be back next Tuesday with more great conversation. In the meantime, head on over to www.culpforcongress.com. Check out what we got going on and sign up for that newsletter so you can stay up to date on where Loren's going to be. Okay, until next time, I'm Chris Gergen, and joining me tonight was Mr. Loren Culp. We will see you all next week.
Good night, you guys. God bless.
Good night.